the Harlem Cultural Festival. Felt like lightning in a bottle.
The Harlem Cultural Festival of 1969.
Welcome to the Harlem Cultural Festival.
Nobody ever heard of the Harlem Cultural Festival. Nobody would believe that happened.
50,000 beautiful people here in Mount Morris Park.
My producers, Robert Fivell, Joseph Patel, and David Dennerstein, they showed me that footage. This was real.
A day after the death of Dr. Martin Luther King.
After the assassination of Martin Luther King, many in the inner city, from Detroit to Philadelphia to Atlanta, places were just erupting in anger, righteous anger.
People for that year had been dealing with constant loss.
There's so many people who need help.
The loss of the Kennedys, the loss of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, all these civil rights leaders.
Not wanting to repeat what happened the summer of '68, the city allowed for this festival to happen.
We needed something to really reach out and touch us. We needed that music.
Growing up in a musical family, my dad would often play the Apollo Theater in Harlem during that period.
Ahmir is someone who knows a lot about music, and it's very authentic.
I'm the guy that watches every music documentary, and I'm always like, they got that wrong. Like, that's the wrong year.
He can go down a really nerdy path, right? Like, this bass player used to play with that guitarist, and they used to have a band before this, and they did this one song that was a cover of another song.
Even people with the highest musical intelligence had no idea that this took place.
Like, wait a minute, Stevie Wonder and the Staple Singers and Sly and the Family Stone, that happened in '69, and no one ever heard of this? I was like, okay, well, I guess this is my destiny to tell this story. There were over 47 reels of footage. Miraculously, it sat in Hal Tolson's basement for 50 years. We had to restore it. So that took 5 months alone for them to just go frame by frame by frame, dusting it, making sure that it didn't snap or anything. When we got that footage, it was damn near perfect.
The great irony of this is that because no one wanted to do anything with this footage at the time and through the years, the footage was actually in remarkably good shape.
For 4 to 5 months, I lived with the footage inside my household.
I constantly kept that concert on a loop. And if something intrigued me, I would take notes during those 5 months.
I would come across some mind-blowing footage. My jaw would drop.
While there were 5 camera angles at the event itself, they had done their own live camera mix. They did not have the isolated camera footage.
I knew that we should actually approach the editing like you do your DJ gigs. We should be just as rhythmic.
This film is his DJ set.
One of many things that Ahmir brings to the project as a director, as a storyteller, is his perspective as a musician.
Oftentimes when I curate things, there's this kind of a rhythmic feng shui thing that I don't know how to describe yet.
My job was to basically be the turntables.
You find ways to blend songs into each other.
I think he understands pacing incredibly well.
He was ready to be a director and ready to tell this story in particular.
He really had strong ideas about certain tracks. He wanted to start with the Stevie Wonder drum solo.
I knew that I wanted the first 5 minutes of the film to just gobsmack the person watching. And when I saw Stevie Wonder take a drum solo, I was like, yo, this is something that even Stevie Wonder experts really haven't seen before. I just knew, like, that was my first scene.
Understanding that that was going to be showing audiences something that they had never seen before, I just realized the genius of it.
It's just the perfect thumbprint for Ahmir on this film.
Not only was the source material phenomenal to start with, but the sound quality of the source material was phenomenal.
Because it was a primarily black festival for a primarily black audience in the black epicenter of the country, there wasn't a lot of newspaper clippings or anything else that we found announcing the festival. I think the obvious answer is racism, right? Like, I think, let's not beat around the bush.
Up to that point, black identity was in question.
Everyone dressed the same. They wore tuxedos. They did choreographed moves.
Oh, yeah!
You had to filter and make yourself palatable so that you wouldn't scare white people people watching in Texas, people watching in Ohio. And that's where we were as a culture. And it reflected in the music and it reflected in the message as well.
So many luminaries came together, from B.B. King, Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Gladys Knight and the Pips!
Now, when I stepped on stage, I was totally taken aback because I didn't expect a crowd like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Chambers Brothers.
There was Max Roach and Abby Lincoln, just Latin music, African music, Sly and the Family Stone, Hugh Masekela.
Fifth Dimension, their set is incredible. It's just so catchy and colorful.
So many just amazing performers.
You know, occasionally my jaw would drop, especially in watching that Mahalia Mavis movement. I just stood in front of my television like, yo, it's crazy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Nina Simone.
For her, there was a burning desire to stand up for Black people and really give a message on why they are important, why they are beautiful.
You could feel the artists drawing energy from the audience. You know, I think it was clear that the artist knew that something magical was happening.
It's just something to see.
Black America has lost faith in this country.
1969 was such a transformative period.
Somebody better wake up.
Day by day, month by month, we started noticing the parallels of 1969 and 50 years later. The same things that they were talking about back then were happening to us right now.
We want a new life.
A Black consciousness revolution.
It reflects and brings to the forefront a moment in time that might give us some insight into where we are today culturally.
The one takeaway that I hear from people who had the opportunity to see the film at a festival prior to its opening is about how topical the film actually is. There's an easy takeaway to see all of the parallels about social injustice, about, you know, love of community. Unfortunately, how things really have not evolved much in over 50 years.
We need it now.
There are important themes to this movie and important things that it says about where we are as a society.
We have a responsibility to show the people the social and political circumstances with poverty, how the government treats its citizens, how the police treat its citizens, the idea of protesting and letting your voice be heard.
The revolution is not going to stop.
Everybody want to know.
I don't want people to get the feeling that this is a history lesson in any way. We all put a lot of work and energy into making sure that this is a joyful film.
The music in the film and the performances are so exuberant. It makes you proud to be part of a world where this could happen.
We'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge people that attended the festival.
Because of the historical way that community has been treated, you can't just get to people through social media. You have to meet them on the ground. That was really difficult. It's not as easy as it seems, because 50 years ago is a very long time.
In the case of Musa Jackson, he told us that this was his very first memory. The things that he described in detail were sort of like, oh, okay, he really remembers this.
Their outfits were orange, but it was orange like, you know, remember the creamsicles?
Like at the very end, then we showed him the footage. He wasn't expecting that, and then that's when the tears just came rolling. That's when I realized, like, oh, this is that type of film. Like, this isn't just a cool concert. Like, you're giving people back their memories.
I'm not crazy. Thank you.
This incredible thing did happen, and it's really important to preserve that memory, not only for the people who went, but also for the rest of culture.
At the end of the day, I think a lot of the no's just came to be because us discovering, you know, Black is beautiful. Instead of always trying to pander and please and readjust our lives to make certain people feel safe, let's please ourselves first.
Wanna take you high.